My friends, welcome to this enlightening panel discussion on disruptive marketing strategies that have not only revolutionized the aesthetic industry, but also paved the way for remarkable growth and increased revenues. In today's rapidly evolving business landscape, traditional marketing approaches are being challenged never before. Companies that once dominated their markets are finding themselves outpaced by innovative disruptors who dare to think differently and act boldly. Our esteemed panelists today are experts and trailblazers in the field of disruptive marketing. They represent a diverse range of companies and bring with them a wealth of experience and insights on how to harness the power of disruptive marketing to drive growth and boost revenues. Throughout the discussion, we will delve into the strategies, tactics, and successes stories that have transformed businesses and set new benchmarks to marketing excellence. We will explore how disruptive marketing has enabled their companies to identify untapped opportunities, connect with customers in meaningful ways, and create lasting competitive advantages. So whether you're an entrepreneur looking to disrupt the status quo, a marketer seeking to innovate and differentiate your brand, or a business leader aiming to unlock new avenues for growth, this panel promises to offer valuable insights and inspiration. So what is disruptive marketing? I asked ChatGPT to give us a definition, but rather than going through a theory and discussions, I want to show you a couple of examples of disruptive marketing actions taken by some innovative companies, and then we'll ask our panelists what they've done on their end. The first example that I want to share with you is from a chocolate bar called Milka. They sold a tablet or a bar with one missing chocolate and one missing square. And you as a consumer, you can reach out to Milka and ask that missing square to be shipped to one of your friends. They sold 10 million bar like that. Another example, and by the way, can you imagine the headache on the supply chain to produce and manufacture a bar like that with one missing square and ship that square to anyone in the world? Talking about supply chain headache is this action taken by Coca-Cola with the names on each bottles and everyone looking for their names and trying to find where they are. So again, a very disruptive approach to marketing and which trigger an enormous number of PR and awareness around the brand. Another great example is this product from Clinique, which, by the way, triggered $1 billion in revenue over time. And as you can see, disruptive advertising campaign, everybody can guess what it is for, dark spot. And the name even better, even tone and texture, and better than the competitors. Coming closer to our field of aesthetics, this product, Strivecting, which was launched for stretch mark, repositioned for anti-aging with a tagline, a disruptive tagline, better than Botox ? This product has been acquired multiple times by different PE firms and ultimately by Crown Pharma. But those 3 or 4 founders become millionaires or billionaires, should I say, based on disruptive marketing. So my first question now is to my friend Jose, who is Senior VP at Evolus. As you know, Evolus market a toxin called Jeuveau, which is similar to any toxin on the marketplace. And I want Jose to explain to us what he has done, a unique program that differentiates Jeuveau from any other toxin. Can you explain to us what you've done and how successful that initiative was?
Yeah, happy to. So for that, I'm going to actually go for 100 slides. 100 slides, all with plenty of graphics and details. But more like, more simply, Evolus has a unique strategic advantage in the US. As you probably know, we are the first cash pay and aesthetic only company. So that allows us to have very flexible pricing when we compare ourselves to our players, and allows us also to build very compelling value proposition for the accounts. So we have a very simple recipe. We have a high-performing toxin We definitely have disruptive creative and disruptive marketing programs, and we enable everything with digital platforms. So AI is not new to us. If I give you one example today to answer Philippe's questions, I would probably pick Evolus. Evolus is our practice loyalty program, and it's actually built in a very specific way. Of course, we're going to give you the best pricing as you keep buying vials with us, but we're going to reinvest in practice growth. We call that co-branding marketing. It's very simple. Wherever your practices are, whether they're looking for asset productions, whether they're looking to run campaigns to build awareness, or whether they want to be paired with affiliates and influencers locally, we can do that. And we're leveraging our platforms to customize everything we do. Let's say you want to build a video or some assets that are social media friendly, we'll send a crew to your practice. Let's say you want to run a campaign using social media or connected TV or billboards, we'll do that as well. And let's say you're more interested in actually focusing on building social networks close to you, we'll match you with influencers. That's an example of how we actually differentiate ourselves.
Great. What about your program, wrinkle-free for 1 year for subscriptions price? Can you talk about that?
That's a very good question. So we're approaching the market very differently. We believe in millennials. We believe that there's still high obstacles for people to enter the category. And as we know, the key driver for next generation is going to be millennials. That's how you're going to grow fast your practices. So we're going to launch in Q4 the first membership program for toxins. We call it Club Evolus. So for $49 a month, patients are going to be able to enjoy Duvo, at existing practices taking the program today. Do you want me to keep going with this?
No, I'll ask you 4 more questions after that. I want to make sure that we have enough time for everybody. Don, you're CEO of Alumier. We talked about supply chain nightmare. You have this different packaging, a unique packaging system. And I would like to know, how did you conceptualize your disruptive packaging? What impact does it have on your customers' perceptions and brand loyalty?
Thanks, Philippe. I appreciate being asked to this prestigious event. It's always a wonderful event to attend, so much great information. So really when we started the company, we thought about what was our North Star, what was our vision, what was our core ideology, and really what we wanted to achieve was almost to reverse engineer the sales funnel for the clinician. We found that when we looked at the market, the percentage of revenue coming through practices from skincare was between 5 to 7% of total revenue coming from skincare, and that just didn't make a lot of fiscal sense. If you think about patient base of 500 and you acquire 200 new patients a year, and each of those patients should supposedly spend $200 of skincare once a quarter. That gets you to 3.6 million in revenue after 5 years coming from skincare. And unfortunately, the state of our market, the status quo at the moment is that we only have 5 to 7% of revenue coming through practices from skincare, which to us meant that something was broken. So to go back to Philippe's question about our packaging, we made sure that we developed a patented anti-diversion system for which we hold 3 international patents. And we make sure that each product that we manufacture is effectively trackable within this ecosystem. So we understand who we sold the product to, where it went to, which large e-tailer it could have landed up on. We buy it back and we have a conversation with the initial person we sold it to. So for the first time in the industry, we're very proud to announce that channel control or anti-diversion has now been effectively mastered by AlumierMD within the space. And what that means ultimately for clinicians as well as end users is everyone is now involved in that hero mentor journey, which should be the case in our industry. We should have providers mentoring their patients on a clinical journey, explaining to them what to use rather than going on threads or finding a reel on Instagram by an influencer telling them what they need to use and building a regimen for them. We have an amazing amount of very gifted clinicians who should be advising their patients as to what they should be buying to complement their skin type and build a very holistic clinical regimen. So those are the 2 factors, Philippe, that allowed us to both the origination story of our packaging and then what it means for our clinicians and ultimately their patients. Thanks.
Thank you, Don. I have a few follow-up questions, which I will ask in a minute. Let's move on to Adelle, who's a senior VP of marketing at Sientra. In a previous life, Adelle, you utilized a simple survey or a poll to achieve 1 billion impressions. Can you elaborate on the success of this approach?
Yes, I sure can. Thanks, Philippe. So I wanted to share a little bit about this campaign because I know that when I hear someone's going to talk about a campaign that they did that delivered over 1 billion impressions, you probably immediately think about a celebrity or a mega influencer as being sort of the center of that type of a campaign. Well, I was with a consumer health tech company in precision medicine that was launching a direct-to-consumer skin cancer DNA test. And we needed to do something different, and we didn't have the budget to put together sort of a celebrity campaign, but we knew we needed as much reach as we possibly can with a limited budget. And so it was really interesting. We tried something different, and we pulled together the power of consumer poll data, PR, and social media all in together to create this buzz around the lack of knowledge and myths around sun protection for specifically the millennial generation. And so we focused a consumer poll on millennials, and we compared and contrast their knowledge of sun safety and sun protection to create these really interesting insights that we could then share with the media. Now, the media and press are kind of like consumers these days, where they want information served up to them, a headline, an infographic, a chunk of information. They don't want to spend a lot of time having to compile statistics to draw into their newsreels. So this information, we were able to get some very provocative information that could then be fed into their news stories. Things like 1 in 5 millennials didn't use sunscreen as a teen. 30% of millennials think that tanning beds are still safe. And my all-time favorite, people thinking that a base tan is actually protects your skin. So we were able to take all these startling facts, upload them to the news reels, and then the media picked it up. We combined it with our social media platform, developed a landing page, how to register to win, a test when it became available. And so with all of that, we only spent $36,000 total in our media platform. Of course, we had to develop the campaign, but in addition to the 1 billion PR impressions, we got 420 pieces of online coverage, 11 broadcast media. We even got a tie-in with Hugh Jackman, which we never paid for, 183 links to this coverage, 40,000 visitors to our website, 4,000 leads. So these were really high quality leads that were ready to buy our test when we launched. And we had a click-through rate of 13%. So it was really, we had high hopes for this campaign. It exceeded all of our KPIs. But I think as you go forward, and I share this campaign because I learned a lot through this as well, it's really interesting that there are other ways to generate excitement. There are different outlets. Media is converging, and you can put it all together and get good results.
Great, Adelle. Thank you. Megan, so you're on the agency side, right? You're the CEO of EvolveMKD, and you help companies like we have on the panel today to implement and launch disruptive initiatives. So I have two questions for you. First of all, do you have a couple of examples to share with us of successful disruptive marketing campaign? And second, if you had an advice to give to Jose and Don, what would it be?
So first off, thanks so much, Philippe, for having me, and thank you for highlighting one of Evolve's clients, Clinique, as one of your 5 examples at the start. I really appreciate that. It's almost like we planned it. So first off, let me start by laying the groundwork for how EvolveMKD defines disruptive marketing. We define disruptive marketing by anything that, frankly, makes our clients a little bit uncomfortable. It should disrupt the norm, challenge conventions, and think about your brand in a different way. Our process for thinking about disruptive marketing tactics is we start by thinking, what's the consumer convention we want to upend? Is it how consumers purchase? Is it a pricing convention? Is it a commonly held norm within an industry? Once as a client, you start thinking about the world outside of your own business objectives and the results you want, and marry those two things together, convention and business results, you can really come up with a disruptive marketing campaign. So to give you an example, we work with a company called the Cord Blood Registry, which is the largest newborn stem cell cord and tissue bank in the U.S. Like aesthetics, they are a cash pay industry within healthcare. Unlike aesthetics, the category is in decline, and CBR's business results have actually been flat for the last few years. They came to us a year ago wanting us to help them disrupt the category, but really help their bottom business line results. As my team was starting our ideation process, we had an aha moment. We were using a consumer marketing funnel that was over 100 years old as the basis for brainstorming a disruptive marketing campaign. That really made no sense. So my team came up with the EvolveMKD brand wave, which we're launching today. We looked across 50 brands across 20 different industries and came up with a different way of approaching the consumer marketing funnel. The brand wave enables brands to reimagine the consumer journey, which we know is no longer static, from noise brands make all the way to how waves that they make impact purchasing decisions. The brand wave highlights patterns, makes comparisons, and finds highs and lows across the wave. Dramatic downward fluctuations in a brand's wave show pain points that we need to address, and upward waves show areas for opportunity and things we should be highlighting. But back to Cord Blood Registry. So I'm sure as many people have experience in this room, we used the brand wave and came up with a few different disruptive marketing ideas to propose to them. They got cold feet. So instead, we agreed upon a more traditional marketing tactic, a celebrity endorsement, but the way that we executed that celebrity was disruptive. But the execution of that was very disruptive. The ad copy we used, the imagery we used, who we chose, and really who we targeted through our paid digital efforts and PR campaign. So at the end of the day, we did hit our revenue targets with that year-long campaign, but I think more importantly, we expanded to a much more diverse group of families that actually set the brand up better for future potential growth.
Thank you, Megan. My next question is for Adelle. You mentioned social media during your presentation. Is the use of social media now necessary for any disruptive marketing campaign? How to use social media or influencers or key opinion leaders in any disruptive marketing campaign?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I'll kind of play off a little bit of what Megan said. It's really kind of understanding the consumer journey and where they are, where do you want to go, where do you want to be. I will say, though, today it does feel like social media has a place in just about every marketing campaign. You just have to focus in. A lot of times you'll see on social media, and I see this actually a lot in medical aesthetics, where the company may be actually talking to surgeons or dermatologists, but the consumer's going there and you kind of got the wrong message. So you've got to really make sure you understand what you're trying to do on social media and then deliver the content, because consumers today, they want the information they want delivered specifically to them in a very targeted way right when they want it, right? That's sort of the expectation. I think I want to talk a little bit about the KOL part. So most marketers that have worked on brands in dermatology or plastic surgery, aesthetics, med spas, have seen the power of using key opinion leaders as part of their campaigns to educate consumers about very clinical science. And a lot of dermatologists and plastic surgeons have done a phenomenal job of breaking down the information so it's understandable. What I see happening now is we have to think about authenticity, because a lot of surgeons and dermatologists have done a really good job of creating their own brand online. They are influencers in their own way, and the pool of them has become a lot larger. So brands have a lot more to go to and check through. And now the big challenge with influencers, both KOL or celebrity, however you want to look at it, is authenticity. The consumers are very quick to judge, right? Is it authentic? Is it real? You know, a lot of the influencer work is paid now. What does that mean? How authentic is it? So I think we're going to see things change over the next couple of years. But while we go through this, it's really about finding disruptive ways. Megan mentioned some good ideas as well about how to create content in a different way that maintains authenticity.
Thank you, Adelle. So let's switch gear for 1 second and talk about the return on investment, because all those programs have a cost, and we want to know if they are worth it. So my first question is for you, Jose. As you're implementing your Jeuveau wrinkle-free for 1 year program for a set price or monthly subscriptions, how do you measure success?
That's a good question. So first, this is not in market yet, so it's still a pilot. I can't give you all the details behind the success of the pilots, but
you've decided to go national now.
Yes.
Which means that your pilot was successful enough.
Yes,
make you think that it's going to be positive return on investment.
That's right. So everything we do is always gated, from a concept down to we executing the concept, we measuring the adoption of the concept, and ultimately the concept is financially sound for us, sound for the practices, and of course the value is there for the patients. So in the case of this wrinkle-free program, which is a membership program, just like I said, it comes with first 2 main insights. We know that cost is still a barrier for someone to try a product and to stay within the product. This is going to address it for consumers. It's a great value for them to be actually wrinkle-free, as you said, for the full years for just $49 a month. The second piece is that it has to be also very financially profitable for practices. Practices, what we've actually measured is 4 key metrics for them. Does it increase your patient retention? Does it increase ultimately the frequency? Are they going to come 4 times per year, 3 times per year? And ultimately, are you going to see an increase of the basket value for each visit and be able to upsell on other products and other procedures? Across all those 4 metrics, we've actually measured against baselines with our practices, substantial improvements. Again, I can't give you all the details because we're going to press release them in a couple of weeks. But across the board, practices have seen an increase, of the patient values on a 12-month basis and an 18-month basis. The last piece that is important for us is, of course, measuring the lift that we can bring to the market. So in this case, we actually also measured among the patients that have been enrolled in this program, the level of satisfaction and how quickly they would, refer the programs to their friends. 95% was actually the patient satisfaction rate, which is incredible, with the type of programs that we push. So this is all numbers that I can't share in details, but these are also confidential numbers. We haven't put any media behind this pilot, but we had to actually push back some practices and some consumers that with word of mouth heard about it and wanted to be part of it. So I think it's going to be a very successful part.
Thank you, Jose. Don, same questions. How do you measure success, and how is your disruptive packaging increase customer loyalty for your brand?
Thanks, Philippe. So yeah, we built a proprietary digital ecosystem. So effectively, if anyone is inquiring about the product, AlumierMD from any location across the US and they're a consumer, we push them through our webpage, through our funnel, and we then disperse those patients out to practitioners. So for us, based on a gamified physician or clinic finder, for us there's immense value because that dials down the cost of customer acquisition for the providers and the practices. Effectively, it's free patients for life. Once those patients have registered, they have their unique identifier, which is their email address, and that is tied to that practice for life. It doesn't matter where they move in the US. And so for us, we're seeing really pronounced levels of retention and CLV, both in terms of our professionals and their patients. And this is all really because we are simply empowering the providers and the clinicians who ultimately are the individuals that were responsible for selling all these brands, creating all of the patients and the consumers, and are best placed to advise consumers on what they need to get the best results from their skin.
Again, talking also about return on investment. As the CEO of a digital marketing company, you're paid flat fees for your programs. What about asking for profit sharing to those companies if the program over-deliver what is expected?
Sure. Before I answer that question, I'll start with one thing. As a small business owner, when I spend money, I like to know what I get for it. And I think a lot of people in this room understand that. The first and only investment hire I ever made was our head of research and analytics, because I wanted to be able to show clients the return and what they get from spending with my agency. To answer your question, there are all different kinds of businesses, right? Businesses are in all different kinds of brand cycles, life stages. We have a lot of different kinds of arrangements at Evolve that speak to where clients are in that life cycle. We have done arrangements where we've gotten cut into the upside. I think those only work if both sides come to the negotiation table with a clear, agreed upon definition of success, and openness, honesty, and transparency around how they're going to measure that success, and then an understanding of how they're going to report on the milestones to get to that success. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Thank you. Usually at the end of the panel, I ask my panelists to take out their crystal ball and predict the future. But I have a specific question this year for all of you, and I'm going to ask you to limit your answer within 1 minute each. It's the use of AI in disruptive marketing. What impact do you see AI is having on future campaigns? Do you believe AI will lead the creation of better disruptive marketing strategies? And how do you use AI in your respective companies for specific projects? Jose, you want to start?
Yeah. So, AI is, it's part of everyday, that everyone is probably using AI as we speak. For us, we have maybe 3 buckets when you think about it. The bucket number 1 is the easiest, probably not the most, exciting, but we are using AI to automate and to increase productivity of the teams. Account receivable, anything related to testing code, this type of activities can be actually replaced with AI, and we can actually focus the teams on more value-added tasks. We're also thinking about AI to increase the value of the analytics. So we've been talking about insights and analytics. It's critical for our life every day, and to actually be able to put the right concepts, the right campaigns, and perform the right way in the market. So we're leveraging AI as much as possible for predictive analytics, for segmentations, and also now for content and creative productions. The last bucket is the most complicated buckets. We've heard about that. It's visualization. It's how do you actually use now AI to start building models and actually go beyond and further the before and afters. We're not there yet, but at least in bucket 1 and bucket 2, we're making a lot of progress.
Don, do you use AI?
I know, not currently, apart from our education platform, but we are certainly looking into it as a way to continue to empower the patient in either a virtual try-on setting, or they're using digital scanning to create a regimen that then pushes them to the provider. I think that when you look at the statistics, there's 50% of consumers are open to having AI as part of their recommendation for personal care products, and 70% of vendors are looking to use AI and implement AI in their marketing strategy. So I think that disparity there potentially could be made up by using AI to push consumers back to practices and clinicians. I think then we'll probably see the most powerful use of it in this environment, in this channel.
So Adelle, you're a disruptive innovator. How do you use AI?
That's a great question, Philippe. And the virtual visualization, I'll kind of play off of that a little bit, is really the future, in my opinion, in terms of how consumers are going to engage in brands and how they're going to see themselves. They want to see what they're going to look like. They can see what they're going to look like with a virtual visualizer. I'd also say so as a marketer, I'm seeing a lot of companies come to me to pitch me on their AI technology. And one of the pieces of advice I would give to some of these AI innovators, I'm actually really excited to be here today to hear some of them talk. I know some of them are going to be here later. It's just really trying to figure out what it is that they are going to deliver for their clients, because it can get very deep and technical quickly. And they almost have to think about how to position themselves. What are they going to deliver? How are you going to measure the success as much as a brand does? Because I think there's a long way for it to go. There's a lot of players coming into the market very quickly. And sometimes you can't do all of it. And everyone's learning, I would say, as well. So think about how you want to create partnerships with brands and do case studies and test different things, get their feedback. Think about how you're going to measure, really build a partnership, because I think we pause for a second to think about which AI partner we want to go with.
Thank you, Adelle. Megan, you had the last words on AI.
So as a marketer, I would say that the thing I'm most excited about is seeing how our lives continue to change, right? Over the last 4 years, everyone's life has changed, not only in how and where we work, but also in what we prioritize, what we value. And as a marketer, I'm interested in seeing kind of how that pushes me and my team to think about what we're saying to consumers, what channels we're reaching them through, how we're touching them. In terms of AI, I think it's going to be a really valuable tool, especially as we enter a cookieless era with Google, in terms of how we are looking at first-party data. So looking at visitors to our websites, looking at patterns, looking at traits that they have so we can be more precise in our targeting as kind of privacy regulations kind of loom in that space. What I think it doesn't do well right now is in creative. So I think marketing still works best when it is triggering a need, a want, or a desire. And I think right now humans are still better at that imaging, copy, and kind of inciting that feeling in humans than AI is right now.
I would like to thank the panel. I would like to thank the organizer and the audience, and have a great rest of your day.